if I had someone like looking up to me formally or informally, like the first thing I'd say is, not say, but like you as a person, like in the position of power, has to create a safe enough environment where they feel like they can ask you why you're doing what you're doing and build trust with you. So it's not just like a one-way stream of like information. So like the first thing you do is like build trust with that person. So you tell them why it is you're doing what you're doing. In my case, Stoble, we built it so we could all hang out, and that so more people could have a chance to do what they love and try to build a business whose main goal isn't profiting. Okay, the main goal isn't profiting financially, but profiting like socially and emotionally, and profiting in that maybe we have the happiest workforce, or maybe we have the happiest customers, but that trade-off has to come from somewhere. So it's like, we'll take it out of our profits.
Welcome everyone back to another edition of the Second Son Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Melissa. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's good. So how was your week?
Pretty good. No real like time to reflect or think about stuff, but lots of good hangs and heart-to-hearts with work.
Okay. What was your high of this week?
We've been playing a lot of bananagrams after hours, to the point where now when I check the cameras after I leave, if people are playing bananagrams, I just go back.
That's sure. That's when that's when you have fun again. Last time I went there, you already know. Last time I went there, I asked about it, and you were like, "Yeah, bananagrams is the game. Like, this is where we all like, connect and have fun." And I was like, "Yeah, I want to be a part of that."
Yeah. You always have a seat at the banana table.
Yeah. Is it like every day?
It wasn't before, but now it seems like as soon as there's a lull, that banana's coming out, letters going everywhere.
Mm-hmm. It's got more addicting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. What was your low? If that's your high, what's your low?
I think I'm becoming more aware of the fact that like as soon as I'm by myself, I turn on music or a podcast, and realizing like I don't like sitting alone with my thoughts. I don't know if it's because I'm like too busy or because I'm always around people, but I find that like the second I get in the car, sound. The second I get home, transfer it to whatever like the speaker on my house is. Mm-hmm. So I think the low is realizing like, can I not do that and still be okay? Or why am I doing that? I haven't changed. I'm still doing it, but I think just becoming more aware that I don't know how to just like be by myself. So, one day at a time.
Is that uncomfortable? Like, not realizing that you're by yourself, or you can't be by yourself?
Yeah, it's annoying because I was so late to getting a smartphone that I feel like reading or like sitting and drawing or just like hanging in my house and cleaning, you could just do. But now I have to have this like background input all the time to feel like I can just wash my dishes or do my laundry or just like make food.
Yeah. Makes sense.
We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. So the next question I want to ask you is like, I want you to tell the audience like who you are, your background, and what you do currently.
Okay. Melissa, I'm 34. I've got adult onset asthma. I've been a nurse for the last 12 years. I don't know. I just want to throw a fun fact in there. But now I manage a co-working space in downtown Chico.
How's that been for you? I know, you told me, we've had conversations about it, but like, how has that been for you?
That's a good question. Well, it's been a wild 2 years because of the pandemic. It's been a really cool way to get to know a town by essentially being like the information desk.
Yeah.
So having to like learn about a city and stuff going on in order to invite other people who already live here into it.
Yeah.
But it's been cool because I feel like I don't have any assumptions about how people should be spending their time in town or where it could be. So I feel like I've got like a good insider's perspective on it now. But it's been fun.
Yeah, that's good. What did you do before this?
So yeah, I've been a nurse for like the last decade, worked in the ER, community health, that sort of thing. Not here, but in Southern California. So that was my world for the last 10 years.
Oh, that's interesting. I know that like you're a nurse and like you wanted to transition, or you didn't know that you were going to be like a part of Stoble Workplace. Like explain to me just that dynamic and like how comfortable you were doing that process, or just like You know, what was that?
Yeah. So the first straw was this project that like my family and my friends were starting. Like 6 years ago was going to maybe be like a makerspace or a coffee shop. It was kind of nebulous, but the main core feature of it was everybody wanted to find a way to be able to spend time together as their jobs. And then also create a world that like invited other people in and made that group bigger. So going from working in the hospital and having like that kind of environment be my day to day to suddenly moving to a brand new town, starting a business in a building that was still a pit in the ground, to now, a little bit of like identity crisis and whiplash. You know, when you work in like as a nurse or like in another career, like you say I'm a nurse, people are like, cool, I respect you, thank you for your service. They assume you're smart or at least kind. Whereas now introducing myself and be like, well, we're starting this business downtown, it's going to be like offices, also coffee. It just kind of sounds like I was just like BSing. And I don't know, it was like hard to let go of like trying to be like, let me tell you how smart I am or how cool I am. But I don't have any like physical place to be like, I made this, I'm helping here. So there was definitely like some doldrums for the first year of it, but now it's so much fun. Like my day-to-day life is like so rich and so full, even though I don't get to necessarily like help people in this like really intense physical way. It's more like on the creative end of stuff.
Do you miss it?
Oh yeah. I miss being able to be like, we solved that problem because like you're not bleeding anymore or you don't have pain. But like in healthcare, you're receiving someone who's like in distress and you're just trying to get them back to a baseline. Whereas in this job, you're meeting someone who's like normal and you're trying to make their life better. So it's kind of like, in both cases, you're trying to improve someone. Whereas like, there's no indicator that like you did it. You're like, could we optimize this more? Could we make this a better experience for you? So I miss being able to be like, okay, we're done. That person's good. They're checked out.
Do you feel like the process of helping someone to get better, because it's easy to patch stuff up and like let them go because you know they're on their own, but is it a long process for you trying to like help people get better, or is it still like the same like patch and like they go?
I think some things that are like the same in both worlds, whether it's like working in the hospital or in the co-working space, is the more genuinely curious you can be when talking to somebody, the better experience they're going to have and you're going to have. So like at the hospital, it would be like, how long has your stomach been hurting? Is there anything you do that makes it better or worse? Have you taken antibiotics? How's your poops? Like that kind of stuff. And asking it in a way that makes them feel safe enough and not embarrassed to answer. Whereas now when somebody comes into me, it's like, hey, I own a business. I'm a remote worker. And maybe we only have like 3 things we can offer them: an office, a hot desk membership, mail forwarding. But if I can ask them enough questions about what they do and why they do it, I might be able to invent a 4th option that we hadn't even thought of because we didn't know to anticipate this need coming in. So for some people, they're just lonely and they want to work with other people, but they maybe necessarily don't need a whole office, or they don't actually work in a field where they could come in every day because they have a storefront, or they're a therapist and their patients don't want to meet them down here. So trying to find a way to modify what we offer to meet the need of the person walking in as opposed to what they've asked us for, and just trying to find as many creative solutions as possible. Or somebody comes in and they're like, I want to rent out this whole building for a party one day. Like, okay, well, that's not feasible. It would be easy enough for me to just be like, no. And then that's the end of that story. But if I'm curious and I'm like, okay, well, tell me what you have in mind, or what are you envisioning? Why would you want to put on this event? Then suddenly the conversation isn't, can I rent your building? Yes or no. But what else would you want to do with this enthusiasm? Or can we find like a happy middle ground? Or are you just someone who likes putting on events and you don't care what it is? So just trying to be like curious as opposed to just shutting people down if I don't have anything that they need. And then asking them enough questions, because maybe I've met somebody else who can meet that need for them. And instead of me just being like the gatekeeper of our own place, like send them along to someone else who has maybe the means or the resources to put on an event, but absolutely no ideas, and all their events are super boring. And send them somebody with a good idea, but no capital or no building.
Right. Do you think it's stifling that you're trying to meet everybody's needs by just being curious? And also, like, where do you draw the line?
Yes. If you don't draw the line, you will burn out, and eventually everyone's ideas sound dumb and you hate them. I've gotten to that point a couple of times. You take the day off. You realize you're what's wrong.
Yeah.
Because there's no way in the course of a day, everyone on the planet has become stupid.
Yeah.
I've become unable to appreciate them.
That's interesting.
So I think part of it is, one, just like stumbling and disappointing people over and over is part of it, and makes you realize like, oh, I only have so many hours in the day that I can offer my own time. So one, either quickly pass them off to the next person.
Okay.
Or two, just tell them like, hey, hit me up in 6 months, or I'm going to disappoint you today, or maybe meet your needs in like later in the year.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I mean, you embarrass yourself because you'll say yes to everything.
Yeah.
And then they're like your fifth meeting of the day, and you have no ability to sit and just listen to a person. So they're getting like a really crappy version of you.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, well, this person's in a position of maybe power, or they have things I don't, and they don't think my idea is cool, so maybe I suck, when really I'm the one that brought all that crap to the table.
Yeah.
So trying to be like honoring of their time.
Yeah. That's huge. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I feel like with Stoble in general, like you guys can do so much, and like this isn't a question, this is really a comment. Like I love that you guys are like trying to be so creative in that space, because you guys have a lot of space, and it's very, very, the space that you guys have is very, very versatile, to where you can take it from here to here, or here to like, left field, or like just as far as like ideas and just options, like somebody renting out the whole building, like for no reason. Like it can go either way. I just admire that, like that you guys are open to like not just suggestions, but like open to put your foot down and like let it rock, instead of being like, you have to go through this process and this process and this process when we have like an SOP for this process, like which you guys are just like, let's just do it, like,
Yeah, because you can easily like committee things to death.
Yes.
To where the person who initially presented you with their beautiful idea and was vulnerable, and you're like, cool, we're gonna tear this apart 100 times and pick at it, and by the time they do the event, they're like,
exactly,
that was tiring.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like that makes a difference, though. I feel like that makes a huge difference.
And for us just to be willing to be like, maybe if this event sucks, that's fine. We tried.
Yeah.
No biggie. We'll do it again.
I love that. I gotta clap it up for that. Oh, that's not we gotta laugh it up for that. Okay, we gotta clap it up for that. Okay, so number 4 is, if you were a mentor and you had someone shadowing you, or someone's younger shadowing you for like however long, and they wanted to, just be around you, what would you want them to learn from you? And like, what would you want to teach them?
Well, having been both on like the receiving and giving end of like a mentoring relationship, I would say, first of all, if I had someone like looking up to me formally or informally, like the first thing I'd say is, not say, but like you as a person, like in the position of power, has to create a safe enough environment where they feel like they can ask you why you're doing what you're doing, and build trust with you. So it's not just like a one-way stream of like information. So like the first thing you do is like build trust with that person. So you tell them why it is you're doing what you're doing. In my case, Stoble, we built it so we could all hang out, and that so more people could have a chance to do what they love, and try to build a business whose main goal isn't profiting. Profiting, okay, the main goal isn't profiting financially, but profiting like socially and emotionally, and profiting in that maybe we have the happiest workforce, or maybe we have the happiest customers, but that trade-off has to come from somewhere. So it's like, we'll take it out for a profit. So
Mm-hmm.
part of, if I were mentoring someone, being like, here's what our goals are for this business. So if your goals are the same, the stuff we're doing here would be good to enact in your future life. But if your goals aren't our goals, only some of the stuff you learn from me is going to be helpful to you.
Sure.
So not being like, I have all the answers, but like, here's what I'm doing with what I got.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also say, especially younger people, or not even younger people, just someone's like that's new to a group, the most important thing you can do is just build trust with all of your colleagues. Because a lot of times, at least I feel this way, you come into a situation and you see so clearly what they should be doing differently. And it's like, oh, if you guys just did this, everything would be better.
Yeah.
Or if this person wasn't such a bully, everyone would have a better time. Or if honestly just your font changed, it would be better.
Yeah.
But if you come in with that information, I think what usually happens is people kind of like in the old guard or the older individuals haven't dealt with their own insecurity and are going to feel like they don't know how to be receptive to feedback or change. And it's not because you have a bad idea. They just don't know what to do with a different idea. So I feel like the best thing you can do in a new situation is build some trust. Like, you know, listen to what they have to say, be vulnerable, and then figure out if these are the kind of people that are going to be open to your ideas before you try to make their business better by bringing in your own.
That's true.
So that's one thing I would say. And then another thing is like, sometimes you can have great ideas and it's not a lack of motivation on your part or anything like that. But like, the system of the world is broken and good ideas aren't always rewarded, and
That's true.
bad people succeed because they were born into prosperity. And it's confusing when you have a good idea and you're watching people with dumb ideas or your same idea excel very quickly. And you're like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Am I dumb?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not cool enough in like a social networking situation when really it's like other people were just set up to succeed and are so much further down the line, just coming out of the womb, that like, don't compare yourself to others who were given more. You can only like compare yourself to yourself. And then on top of that, if you're in a situation where like, if just waking up at 6 a.m. and reading a self-help book would make you become a millionaire, you probably were doing pretty okay.
Yeah.
If that's the only thing you had to change. Like, I started taking yoga and suddenly I manifested all my dreams. Like, I doubt you were that far from your dreams.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
Do
true.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like they were just right around the corner, whereas there's someone else, they're in another country and around the corner.
Yeah.
It's like, if you can do something small to make your life great, you're probably doing okay.
That's true.
So I'd say anytime I'm talking to someone like younger than me or whatever, it's like the first 5 years of my life in healthcare, I was just surviving because I had a ton of debt. I didn't always have a place to live. And it wouldn't have mattered if someone was like, here's how your life's going to be in the future. Or here's how to optimize whatever. Or here's some strategies to get rich quick. It's like, I don't have any room for that in my brain. I'm just trying to like put gas in my car.
Yeah.
So sometimes like people are just in survival mode. And sometimes that's a part of life. So I guess if someone's like, I'm mentoring someone, I'm shadowing someone, if there's a way I can meet needs in their life, like whether that's like through a raise or in some other way that's like actually feasible, you got to do that first before you start giving them like your words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Because if they can't actually like exist on the planet and not go into a ton of debt, then it doesn't matter what you have to teach them.
Yes.
Because like you're just wanting them to learn from you, but their needs aren't like actually being met like on a foundational level.
That's true.
So I feel like the burden you should feel if you're in a position where you're making money enough to meet your own needs is like, okay, now how do you reinvest in the people that are working for you so that like they can have good lives? So yeah, I guess mentoring's part of it, but also like the practical aspects of if you have knowledge, share it. If you have money, share it. If you have time, share it so that the people who are in survival mode can like enter their next stage of growth and thriving with their good, wonderful ideas that they don't have the time or energy to enact because they're just trying to like take care of the family.
Yeah, that's true. The more I listen to you, the more like it's clear to me that either the mentor or the mentoree, or even in like a job setting, like people are supposed to come with like set expectations, and some people are nervous to like have expectations for themselves. But like if you or somebody else were to set like a standard expectation, it's just much easier just to like get past like, you know, the filler of the insecurities and like what you're not good at or what you're comfortable with, or how you're in survival mode and how you're using this job just to make money, or just to like, you know, just to, I don't know, show your creativity or whatever you know your reason for the job is. That's a good point. Just like setting up expectations before you like are able to give, you know, knowledge or give work.
Mm-hmm. I know for me, I was working in the ER, and most of my peers were applying to medical school, or like that wasn't on the table for me. I just had to pay off debt from school, and I was afraid to be vulnerable with that because it was me and all of these like very well-off kids just trying to figure out like where their parents were going to pay for their medical school. And I was like, well, how am I going to pay rent this month? And once I was like honest about that with everybody that I worked with, suddenly everybody needed a house sitter. So it was kind of like they were obviously didn't want to make me feel weird by being like, do you need a place to live?
Yeah.
But it was like anytime someone needed a house sat for them, or their pet sat, or their pets watered, plants watered, I would get a call. So it was like this natural thing. By me being vulnerable was like, I don't have a place to live right now. Suddenly everybody was like adjusting their lives so that I could thrive. So my job was to be their medical scribe, but they were like meeting my like fundamental needs of like having a place to live, or if they had like an odd job or someone needed babysitting, they would just call me. And so that built trust, because now suddenly the advice they would give about applying to nursing school or things had more weight, because I saw that they saw the needs that I had, and they weren't just like, you should do this. It was like, here's a place to live. Also, you should go to school. So.
It showed more care because you were open.
Yeah. So sometimes if you're the person in need, you have to be vulnerable and take a risk and just be like, well, the reason I'm not doing this is because like I don't have enough gas to drive back home, so I was just going to sleep in my car in the hospital parking lot.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you know, you just make it awkward and they can deal with it.
Yeah, that's true. Like, you're really hitting like really good points here, because like the more you care about someone, or the more they're open to sharing like their needs, the more they start caring about their work more, just because you've entered their personal life just a little bit, but you're also extending the favor.
Yeah.
And like you're pulling them into your, you know, your family, your company, and it's not just a business transaction, it's really a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, having been on the receiving end of like other people's kindness, now that I'm in a position where I'm not worried about that anymore for myself, it's like, how do I build trust with the people that we employ, that they feel safe sharing what their actual struggles are, so that I'm not just like, oh, here's how you can excel in our company. And they're like, I don't care about that. I'm just working here to live.
Yeah. Jesus. Are there any other things that you would say, like as far as like a personal level? Like, I think I wrote some like it could be anything, like providing value or not being afraid of humiliating yourself. I think we talked about that.
Yeah, I would say if you're interviewing for a job, or even not just interviewing for a job, if you're at a job and you're like, how do I grow within this environment? Whether it's you want to get better at making the freaking McFlurries at McDonald's, or you're at like a bank and you feel like, well, I've learned the 7 tasks I'm allowed to do. It's just asking anybody that's like your peer or anywhere else in the hierarchy, like, hey, maybe not on paper there's any like formal mentorships available, but like, can I be cross-trained? Why do you like doing your job? What are ways you've found to go throughout your day to make this job like more enjoyable or more meaningful? Or just asking people at the place that you work, or just a place you spend time, if it's not necessarily a job, of like, tell me what experiences you've had in the last week that have like made you feel really good about your role here. And just helping to get like a full, better perspective of how like the jobs that you do impact the people around you can sometimes be like, oh, I never thought about like our job provides this or that service. And then if nobody has anything to say, maybe that's like not a good place to be working.
Probably not.
But too, like if you're interviewing for a job, or maybe like applying for a certain thing at school, or maybe not even interviewing a job, but deciding if you're going to like collaborate with friends on a project or a business or some art thing, is like making sure everybody has like the same set of values as to why you're doing it. And if you don't have the same set of values, having them be at least close enough that that's not going to create like conflict.
That's so important.
Right. And then I would also say if you find a job where everybody is exactly like you, great. You'll all feel comfortable all the time. You'll laugh at all the same jokes. You'll know this is what you do if you're weird. This is what you do if you're normal. This is what you do if you're cool. But if you find a job where everybody's a little different, there's just like so much more room for growth. Everybody's covering each other's blind spots. Yeah. There's probably parts of your personality you wouldn't otherwise uncover if you're with people that are just more like you.
That's true.
Like how many things about yourself have you learned because you met someone who you thought was weird?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh no, I'm weird like that too. Exactly. Like that's also fun. So basically unlock all the hidden levels in your own personality by just going into relationships, businesses, partnerships that are with people that are unlike you, whether that's like demographically, interest-wise, business-wise. And philosophic-wise gets a little hard because sharing some values but have different like hobbies and backgrounds.
Yeah, that was good. That was really good. Yeah, just, being open and just being vulnerable.
Yeah, just decide that you're going to be the weird one. And then if you're not, great. And if you are, you called it.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to go to the next question. So, if you guys don't know, Melissa is a super fan of Star Wars. Is that true?
That is correct.
That's true. Okay.
Number one Google search result, Star Wars superfan.
Number one Google search result, Star Wars superfan. You'll find Melissa on the Star Wars podcast, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. So with that being said, who is your favorite Star Wars character?
Okay, I have 3. I'll quickly say. One I relate to the most, L3. She is the robot played by the gal who did the Fleabag show in the Han Solo movie. Okay. I won't go into it. Just watch it. I feel like that is me. Favorite character arc, C-3PO. Okay. I think it's because at one point when Luke Skywalker is asking him when he's getting like all oil cleaned or whatever, tell me about facing the Empire, and C-3PO's like, I'm not very good at telling stories. And then flash forward to freaking Return of the Jedi, and he's all like, Toronto gosh, and like making sound effects so he can tell all the little cutie Ewoks about their thing. And I'm like, C-3PO, not only are you good at telling stories now, but like you're making sound effects. You're making little cutie Ewoks be adorbs. I'm like, character arc. We're not even talking about the later movies, but he just keeps going. But then my favorite overall is Mara Jade, who's a character just in the books because she like starts off as a Sith, but then is like maybe a Jedi, but then it's kind of like, Luke, why do we have to be in a duality about this anyway? And, she was the first lady Jedi I ever read about. And I was like, girls can be Jedi? This is freaking sick. And I was like 100, so it's great.
That's good. I want to ask you another question, too. It's not on here, but like, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
I would say it's a tie between Empire Strikes Back and Rogue One. But I am so into The Mandalorian show.
You like The Mandalorian show on Disney Plus?
So fun. I just watched the last episode of the Book of Boba Fett last night. So I'm also the kind of person that whatever I just watched is my favorite movie. So ask me again in a year. It'll be Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That's interesting. Have you watched all the movies though?
Oh yeah, even the Ewok Adventures, the ones people don't even know exist.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but like
don't worry about it. It's there when you need it.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched some movies of Star Wars, like it was like Star Wars 3, Revenge of the Sith or something.
2 Sith, 2 Furious. That's Fast and Furious.
It was like Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. It was like with Luke Skywalker or something, and somebody, I don't know, but it was interesting. That's probably the only one I've.
Well, okay? I might be wrong. I thought that's what Tucson Media was, because don't you have a picture of Tatooine in your Instagram profile?
Yeah.
And then this is Second Son Media. I'm like, and you haven't seen Star Wars. What's happening?
Boom. I don't know. I was looking for 2 sons on Google. I put 2 sons and then There was Luke, or that's his name?
Yeah.
There was Luke just staring
You
at two
picked
suns.
what most people describe as their favorite scene from all of the Star Wars is that scene is what most people pick. You didn't even know.
I didn't even
That's
know.
all right. Luke didn't know he was a Jedi for a while either, so maybe you're living his life.
Hey, there it is. I might be living a Jedi life. I don't know. Or soon to be.
TBD.
TBD. Okay, this is my last question before I wrap it up. Who do you think I should interview next?
I made a list. It's not the full thing.
She made a list.
Okay. These are 5 people that I feel like I've interacted enough with that they'd probably be down. 1, Maddie Hinckley.
Okay.
You may have seen her in Stoble. She looks like she's wearing this gorgeous evening gown of like tats all the way down her arms.
Okay.
Super cool. She's an artist. She had like a residency in Maine, Portland, Maine, this whole last summer.
Mm-hmm.
She's the bomb. I would recommend that. Marissa Segovia, another local artist. I know she, in the last year, I want to say, I might be messing this up, was like, I'm a freaking artist and I'm going to like hustle so hard this year. And like every freaking week on Instagram, she's like, I'm in Modesto. I'm at this. I created this whole entire pop-up. Like she's doing it all. And then 2 dudes I thought of. One is Alex Piasecki. He actually roasts. He's our head roaster at Stoble.
Okay.
His life initially was like he was going to go into like the ministry. And then now he's become a coffee roaster. So he's just like super involved in like a very like, he wants all his interactions to be like holistic and comprehensive. And he like cares about people super well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, just sounds like a really cool outlook on life and is trying to be like hyper thoughtful all the time to the point where like I just feel bad joking with him because he's just so nice.
Yeah.
He's funny. He's loud.
Mm-hmm.
He's Armenian. He's cool.
It's good.
Honestly, probably him and his wife. If you could do that as a duo, she's hilarious. She's like a green thumb science woman. Anyway, so that's one. And then Mike
Cool.
Donnelly, who if you're driving around Chico, you just see his name on everything. Yeah. Which if you're me, I'm like, oh, look at that boring person's name on a boring billboard, that whatever. But I have met him and I see him all the time and he is so funny. And like, I would have profiled him as like just a generic old white guy who is a broker, which I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
He is like the most curious and interested person in the land. Like anytime there's like a new idea or a new program or something, I don't know, maybe more progressive or unusual, he wants to know all about it. He wants to like be involved and like see Chico thrive, which I feel like, I don't know, just stereotyping. I wouldn't have expected that from someone whose like name I just see on buildings all over town. I would think, oh, this is just a uninterested business.
Yeah.
But him as like a person, as a dude, he's brought so many cool people into our space. I think he like wishes he like was a hippie a little bit. I don't really know.
Really?
I don't know how to like
That's
peg
the vibe
him.
you were picking up from him?
Like his
second life.
he put us his like skill set on the intro as like straight up badass. And then his picture is like him in a bucket hat, like
he's a broker by day.
He
and
was
like
one of the first people to
night.
tell me about cryptocurrency.
Really?
I don't know if he knows what he's talking about, but it was a great conversation.
He probably does know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Anyways, he's so nice, very gregarious. I don't know if he knows what I'm talking about most of the time, but he's really chill, very conversational, involved in everything. Okay. I'll give you their contact info.
For sure. I'm in the Slack workspace.
Oh yeah, you got access to all these people.
I might just
hit
do
it.
Up. Yeah, that's good. Another bonus question.
Yes, please.
Can you tell the audience like what's next for Stoble for the people who live in Chico? You tell them like, what's the comfort Stoble and like what's the vision? Maybe it doesn't have to be in 5 years. It can be like in a year or just like just thoughts in general.
Sure. Well, the immediate task at hand is the mass mandates are living. It's cool to have events. So we're trying to find people who have ideas for doing maybe more unconventional things. Like it's easy enough to have live music, but are there ways we can have really rich nights where it's like, hey, anybody who's in X, Y, or Z hobby, come on down, bring all your stuff, get to know each other, become friends. Do kind of like instead of a speed dating night, like a speed friending night. Because there's so many cool people that come through the building that I want to connect with each other, but I don't really have a reason. Because I keep trying to like be like, oh, you guys share similar business interests. And I'm like, no, I just feel like you'd be friends. But I feel like it's a lot of pressure to put on people. So I'd rather just kind of like get them all in one room, shake it up, and then see who just kind of naturally groups off and becomes buddies. Because I feel like I don't want to have to be like the gatekeeper of like people and ideas, even though everybody comes to me because I'm at that desk. I want to try to like make it so I'm not necessarily like the hub of everybody's human interaction, but they're feeling empowered and confident enough to just walk up to other people and be like, hey, which you do a great job of. So like, thank you and 5 stars for doing that.
Appreciate it.
So I guess it's finding what is the practical way to facilitate people building relationships and community with each other as like round 1. Round 2 is like with all of the people and the things that are yet to come, what do we build next? So we have some buildings that we've got that we're trying to figure out, what do we build them to house for both our business so that it can be more sustainable, but also for all of the new people and ideas we're coming across. Because our goal isn't to make like 100 Stobles. It's like we made one. There's only like so many of us. I think the key for us is having enough people creating human relationships in the buildings that we build to justify continuing to do it. And then kind of once we've maxed out that reach, just turning inward and reinvesting in the people there. We want to shift into a employee owned / profit sharing thing. So we started that this year. We're trying to figure out like with what frequency we can dispense profits, not just to incentivize people to like make as much money as possible, but it's like, that's the point of running a business. In our view is like, how can you make everybody's lives better? Not how can you just make a ton of money for yourself? So those are the 2 things. We'll see how it works out.
That's good. I like the second one too. Like, profit sharing, giving them, equity ownership and like, the thing that they're building, the thing that they work at, the place that they work at. I feel like that's going to be huge. Yeah.
And then, there's a lot of other big businesses in town. And if we can demonstrate to them, hey, sure, maybe the owners aren't making as much, but look how happy everybody is. Exactly. Look at what they're able to do. They didn't have to stay here working forever because now they have enough to like go to school and do what they want, or now they have enough money in their pocket to start their own business and not just like be kind of like locked into the role you've assigned them to keep your business running. But also if they do, make that enjoyable enough and lucrative enough that if they love it, they don't have to look for something else.
Right.
So one day at a time.
That's huge. I think other businesses will start to mock that if you start to set the example and be like the guinea pig of that.
Yeah.
It's like, I think other businesses in Chico will definitely like have your back on that.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of puts also the pressure on the business to be profitable enough that you can do it. And so hopefully it will be like a good reverse pressure to like stay innovative, and
hopefully the system works.
Yeah. We'll see.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Second Son podcast. Before we leave, Melissa, would you close us off with a word of wisdom?
I made me say all my cool stuff already. Okay, hold on. Let me look at my notes. Okay, I would say my closing word of wisdom is, to the extent you have control of how you spend the days of your life, whether that's in a job you like, don't like, whatever, picture the times in your recent past where you felt the best. Picture like who you were with, what you were doing, and see if you can't create a life where that's accessible to you regularly, to where you're not just like waiting for the high of like a certain group of friends to be around or a certain task to be at hand, but like see if you can like reverse engineer the days of your life where you feel how you want to feel, whether that's you feel super useful and super purposeful or super loved or super loving or whatever it is, and be like, how can I experience that at least once a week, at least once a day, and find either a job where that's built in, or whether you have to be in a different town or place, and I don't know, just make changes in your life so that the feelings that make life worth living are never more than like a day or two away.
That's beautiful.
So
I love that.
there you go.
I love that. Let's clap it up for that. Is it this one?
See, okay,
I'm
right
really bad
here,
at this.
that is the feeling I want to feel as often as possible. And you gave that to me, James.
I said, let's clap it up. I need to stop. I think it's that one. Okay. All right, all right. Let's clap it up. Okay, there we go. Make sure you guys, for everybody who's listening right now, make sure you guys make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. You know who you are. I know who you are. You guys are watching this. You guys will be watching more videos. So just like, comment maybe, but just moreover, subscribe. Please subscribe if you want more content. And thank you, Melissa, for showing up.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And see ya.